West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Okay, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we go on a big Monday, October 5. So good to see you today. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm ready to jump into the big news of the day here on this Monday, October 5 on Free Speech TV. That's nationwide, of course, and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TalkerTV. You can also watch Talker TV, of course, in this country on your electronic device, if that's more convenient for you. Lots going on. The White House and the Defense Department kind of a red face today after, over the weekend, U.S. airplanes accidentally bombed a hospital in Kunduz in Afghanistan, killing 22 people, including 12 staff, workers, and doctors. The Doctors Without Borders, who were manning that hospital, have just packed up and left the country, saying it's not safe to be, at least in that region. The White House promises a full investigation. Meanwhile, by the way, in terms of the Roseburg shooting, and maybe in terms of the Afghan bombing as well, Jeb Bush and Donald Trump just say, oh, that's too bad. Stuff happens. Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden both appearing in front of the nation's largest LGBT organization, the Human Rights Campaign Fund, Saturday. Hillary in the morning, Joe Biden in the evening, both of them making a big pitch for the LGBT vote, and apparently both of them hit it out of the park. The Pope, meanwhile, says, he didn't even know who Kim Davis was. That was not a meeting that he planned. That was just put together by some American bishop, as I told you. But the Pope did make a call from Rome to a longtime friend of his, former student, a gay man, and his partner, and says, I want to see you when I'm in Washington. I want to give you a big hug. That is a powerful statement. So much to talk about. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Good to have you here on this Monday.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what? I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Doctors Without Borders says if the U.S. is going to bomb our hospital, we'll just get the hell out of here. What a horrible tragedy. Cost of war. We see it once again. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Good to see you on this Monday, October 5. Here we are. It's the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and booming out all across this great land of ours, coast to coast, starting here in Washington, D.C., and God knows where we end up, wherever you happen to be, in the great lower 48 or even Hawaii and Alaska. We're there all the way with you on the radio and on TV, on the radio on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, on the radio on one of our two great radio apps. Tune in, it's free. Download it. Or iHeartRadio, it's free. Download it and use it to stay with us on the radio. And then we join you on Free Speech TV, of course, on the big screen and on the little screen on our video stream, Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker TV. Hope you had a great weekend. It was a rainy, cold weekend here in Washington, D.C. We didn't have as much rain as they did down in South Carolina. It was just about washed away over the weekend. Floods down there, they say 1,000-year floods, and the video down there is just unbelievable. Reach out to the poor people there and hope things dry up pretty soon. Wherever you happen to be, I hope you're having a good one. Thanks for joining us and saying hello to our team here, Peter Rockburn and Jamie Benson.
Happy Monday.
Good morning.
How about it?
Here we are.
I know. Yeah, end of the baseball season. It's all over.
I'm telling you.
It's it.
They're going out with a bang.
Yeah.
That's for
It
sure.
was the last game of the season yesterday, east and west, north and south. And so everybody played at the same time yesterday, which was, I don't think that's ever happened before.
It was fun.
It was
fun.
3 o'clock across the land, 12 noon on the East Coast, wherever you happen to be, 3 o'clock East Coast. That's when the game started. Everybody at the same time. Ray Rogers is here to take your phone calls. Don't forget, you join us at 866-55-PRESS. That's how you get your calls in. You can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And we should never have let Cyprian go to Paris because we'll never see him again, because he's back, and now he's back again over the pond, this time to Madrid.
Yeah.
He's just...
It's well traveled.
Yeah, that's
good for him.
Yeah. Next is going to be, I don't know, Moscow, Amsterdam, who knows, right? Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's addicted now to overseas travel, clearly.
Can't hold him down. So
Man.
I'm telling you. And speaking of the last game of the season, well, the Nats went out with a bang over the weekend. Well, they lost yesterday, but day before...
Doubleheader in New York. Won them both.
Yeah. And in the second game, it turned out to be one for the history book. Max Scherzer, who has really emerged as the star. I mean, he's the rock star.
He's our ace now.
He's our ace.
And he got a little rocky there middle of the season.
He did. Yeah, he did. But he threw a no-hitter earlier in the season. And lo and behold, Saturday... pulls it off again.
Swing and a pop-up on the infield. Coming over, Yunel Escobar makes the catch. Max Scherzer has done it again. He's thrown his second no-hitter of the year, and the third in Nationals history.
The New York fans.
They hate him.
I know.
They hate him. You know, this is this season.
He's the
for
bright.
Max Scherzer,
He's the bright light.
Oh
in
my
the Nats,
God!
Right.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's come close. And by the way, that's the second no-hitter this season. He didn't walk anybody in either game, so it was close to a perfect game. But he's flirted with a no-hitter. I think they said 5 times this season. The last time he pitched before Saturday night, he had a no-hitter going into, I think, the 8th inning before he lost it. I mean, he's a freak, that guy.
Yeah. Good. So we have one reason for
we
hope.
escaped the weekend without any fights.
Right.
That's right.
But Jonathan Papelbon bought a home in D.C. over the weekend. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't love that story.
All right, so we got lots coming up. Reporters coming in today. We got a full roster of reporters from The Hill, from Politico, from AP, and from the National Journal, and of course our team here as well. We'll get right to it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. It's Monday, so let's take a look at the weekend box office. What came in number 1? The Martian. The Martian pulled in $55 million. I saw it over the weekend.
Did you?
It's a very, very good movie. We took the kids, too. It was a very well done movie. Number 2, Hotel Transylvania 2, a kids movie. And number 3 was Sicario. Neither one of them came close to The Martian, though. $55 million, a huge opening weekend for them. To the sports desk we go, where they're
scared about the guy getting stranded on Mars.
No, because it wasn't very. A lot of people are comparing it to Gravity. Because it's this sort of stranded in space thing. It wasn't nearly as intense as Gravity. It was just they got a lot of the intensity out of the way, and then he just got to work trying to save his butt. So it was good. It was a good movie. To Orlando, Florida we go, where there is a bar called The Basement. They are a bar that a lot of fans of the University of Central Florida Knights fans go to watch games. Except here's the problem. The UCF Knights haven't won a game this season. They are 0 for 5. So The Basement says that they're having a hard time getting people to come in and watch the game, so they have a solution. Giving away free beer.
Oh.
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it.
Free beer at the bar. According to their website, free beer until UCF wins. Seriously, we're giving away free beer every game until we win because we need something to be excited about. Saturday, they took on the Tulane Green Wave, and they lost. And they lost 45 to 31. So you can still get free beer at The Basement in Orlando, Florida. UCF Knights are 0 and 5. And the weather's cooling off, which means Thanksgiving is around the corner, which means shopping, right?
Yeah.
The trend, of course, that we've seen over the past couple of years is not only stores offering Black Friday deals, but stores opening on Thanksgiving Day for Thanksgiving Day deals.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a lot of people go that route, but one company put out a statement over the weekend, said, we will not be opening on Thursday, and that is Staples. Office stores. So if you were going to go buy printer cartridges for the love of your life.
That's not kind of the place you think of when you think about Christmas shopping, right?
Right. Their CEO put out a statement and said, we want our customers and associates to enjoy Thanksgiving their own way. So,
I remember we went through this whole thing last Thanksgiving with the list of stores that were not going to open on Thanksgiving because they wanted their employees to be able to enjoy Thanksgiving with their families.
Yeah.
So I guess here we go again, right?
Best Buy, Toys R Us, Target, and Radio Shack all were open on Thanksgiving of last year, and they said that they intend on opening again this year on Thanksgiving Day.
Until Best Buy does it, it's not gonna.
No, Best Buy, they're doing it. Until they boycott.
Until they stop.
You're right. You're right. So there you go.
All right. Hey, thanks to a little shout out to Evan McMorris-Santoro for being here with you on Friday. And I know you talked about this tragic shooting yet again in Roseburg, Oregon at Umpqua Community College. When the news hit, it was just like another body blow. And the question remains, what the hell is it going to take for us as a people, and you can't just blame the politicians, for us as a people to demand that we rein in the easy access of anybody to any gun or any number of guns they want. It just doesn't make any sense. And I know that now we're supposed to, and we'll hear in just a minute from some politicians who say we can't do anything about this. The NRA is too powerful. We can't fight them. So we just have to accept this as the new normal. And that is absolute caca. That is absolute nonsense. We are better than that. But, looking at this and doing a little research on it over the weekend, I mean, it is just stunning. This, of course, Umpqua Community College, is the 45th school shooting this year. In 2015, 45 so far, and we got 3 months to go. As of Thursday, the Washington Post reported this. So Thursday was 274 days of 2015, and in those, get this, in those 274 days, we had 294 mass shootings. That's, you figure it out. That's more than one a day. Mass shooting defined as a shooting where 4 or more people are either killed or injured. 294 in 274 days. And we don't think we have a problem in this country? The columnist for the New York Times, Nick Kristof, wrote this sentence, and a lot of people said, this can't be true. This can't be true. So PolitiFact looked it up, and they said, oh, yes, it is true. That in this country, since 1968, more people have been killed in gun-related deaths since 1968 in the United States than in all of our wars combined, starting with the Revolutionary War.
Good grief.
Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, Spanish-American War, you name it, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, more people killed in this country with gun-related deaths since 1968 than all of those wars combined. And you don't think we have a problem in this country? What is
That's a sick,
think of that
statistic, man.
We also have, and this report, by the way, just came out this weekend on the heels of the Umpqua Community College from the University of Alabama. They did, for the first time, they took a look globally at access to guns. And they report the United States, guess what? We have more mass shootings than any other country in the world. We also have, surprise, surprise, more guns than any other country in the world. More guns in private hands than any other country in the world. So, I mean, don't tell me there's no connection between that. And this guy in Oregon, right? Here he is. How old is he? 26? I don't know. He's 23, whatever. Yeah. They found either on him at the college or in his car or at his home, he had purchased in the last 3 years legally 8 handguns, 5 rifles, and 1 shotgun, not to mention a pile of ammunition. 8 handguns, 5 rifles, and 1 shotgun. What the hell is going on? I mean,
we have a sickness where I'm sorry, people talk about gun nuts and they don't like the term gun nuts. If you think that it is your right as an American to have 14 guns, 8 of them handguns, right? Which you can't, which automatically eliminates the argument of hunting or whatever.
Yeah, right.
If that's what you're here to defend, you're wrong. It's just not right.
That, by the way, and I had this conversation with some friends Saturday night at dinner. That just shows how cowardly we have become. Nobody talks about you don't hear the phrase gun control anymore. No, it's got to be gun safety, because gun control means you want to take everybody's guns away. No, it doesn't. But we don't use that phrase anymore, or seldom. Also, we've just about given up in terms of anybody who would take on the NRA and suggest that they're wrong. But also, the only thing we talk about banning today are assault weapons. I remember in California, we had an initiative statewide to ban handguns, just for the reason that you point. Okay, you want to respect the Second Amendment and say people got a right to do target shooting or hunting or something. You don't need a handgun to go hunting. No, nobody hunts with a handgun. No,
No, nobody does.
No. So the only reason for the assault weapons or for the handguns is to kill somebody else, and with an assault weapon to kill a lot of people in a short period of time. But the question remains, and I want to hear from some of the people we heard from, President Obama. President Obama once again came out and gave a very, very emotional, very powerful statement. But, I'm sorry. And he did that after Tucson. He did that after Newtown, Connecticut. He did that in Charleston. He's done that, other occasions as well. And he did it this time, and then nothing happens. We just walk. He doesn't call for any new legislation. He didn't call for any new legislation this time. He's done it in the past, and nothing happened. This time he didn't even call for it. And not one member of Congress stood up, not one Democrat. The Republicans aren't going to do it. They're owned by the NRA, but not one Democrat, not Chuck Schumer, not Senator Feinstein, none of the ones who normally would count on to be out there in front on this issue, not one of them said, all right, finally we got to do something about this. Finally I'm going to push for something, even if I can't get the votes in Congress. No. You know what? It was crickets. What is it going to take is my question to you today. 866-55-PRESS. And don't believe the guys, we'll hear from them when we come back a little bit, who say, well, stuff happens, you can't do anything about it. Boy, that's a defeatist attitude. 866-55-PRESS. Our chance to talk about it here this Monday on the Bill Press Show.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit everything.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, waiting for some courage and some leadership and some action and some sanity in the wake of yet another school shooting at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, last Thursday. And we did hear some voices that just don't get it at all. So here's Ted Cruz after, again, this horrific accident. The news breaks. President Obama comes to the briefing room, gives his statement, and, of course, Ted Cruz, instead of talking about what happened and what we might do about it, he just uses it as a chance to attack the president.
Almost within minutes of ending his murderous spree, the president seized upon it to advance his partisan political agenda. That's just wrong.
Partisan political agenda? Wait a minute. 294 mass shootings in 274 days, and saying that this is a tragedy is a partisan political agenda?
I'd be willing.
Ted Cruz is a freaking idiot.
I'd be willing to bet that there have been some Republicans who have been shot and killed by guns in this country.
I know
in some of these mass shootings.
No, they only shoot Democrats. Didn't you know
right,
that?
right. So yeah. I mean, how is this?
Anybody who would
partisan?
say that it's just outrageous. And then, Jeb Bush, not much better, frankly. Oh, what happened? What do you think, Governor? What should we do about this?
Look, stuff happens. There's always a crisis. And the impulse is always to do something, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah, God forbid we do something, right? And and by the way, Donald Trump, we'll hear him later maybe. Not that he's worth playing, but he basically said the same thing. Horrible things always happen, so there's nothing we can do about it. Yes, there is something we can do about it. First of all, is to grow a pair. And secondly, why don't you just start saying you can't buy 15 guns in 3 years?
This is the Bill Press Show.
I am your toilet, so how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that I've been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver, and that is not a lie. Where I don't exist, thousands die. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. When you think of all the things that I
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes rolling into a Monday morning here on October 5. Hope your weekend was a good one, and trying to look for answers in the wake of yet another school shooting. The campus of Umpqua Community College up in Roseburg, Oregon, a rural part of southern Oregon. I've been through there, don't know that town well, but through there. Public speaking class, 10:38 Thursday morning. One of the students enrolled in the class walked in, opened fire after handing one student an envelope with a message in it and saying, "You've been chosen. You're the one that's going to be spared. Go stand in the corner." Sick.
And apparently he was asking some of the students,
what's their religion?
What's your religion? And he was shooting people if they said that they were Christians, which gave fodder to guys like Mike Huckabee to say, we have a problem with an attack on Christianity in this country. We have to do so. But imagine if he took that as seriously as he did other lives that have been lost and other mass shootings in this country.
Yeah.
That's what it takes for him to pay attention.
President Obama, as we mentioned, did come out in the briefing room right shortly after this news broke. With again, I mean, he really does rise to the occasion, and he was clearly personally affected by this and very angry and very sad at the same time.
There's another community stunned with grief, and communities across the country forced to relieve their own anguish, and parents across the country who are scared because they know it might have been their families or their children.
That's what that's. I mean, for all these guys that are saying, like Eric Erickson tweeted, "Time for us to go buy more guns." Right? Like some people think that's the answer. Go buy more guns. What happens when this happens to your children or your parents? You know, I mean, this has touched all different walks of life.
You've got to think about that. I mean, again, 45 school shootings this year. You've got to think about, I mean, who doesn't have kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews or neighbors, kids in school, right?
Yeah.
Either in kindergarten through 12 or junior college or whatever, or community college. No, I mean,
we've seen them on every level.
Yeah, every level. But schools were always considered, that was a safe area, right? Schools.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Dave is calling out in Detroit. Hi, Dave.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to thank Pete for bringing up the Max Scherzer ruins for all us Tiger fans.
Sorry, dude. He's ours now.
Yeah, we could have used his 21s this year.
For sure, man.
Okay, right.
Good grief. Hey, I told you this in August. I think it was August, it seems to me, after the South Carolina shootings. Nothing will change in this venue while Congress feels safe and their families feel safe. You know, they argue for more guns.
I remember you making that point.
Get a gun in the gallery, wouldn't it? They don't want more guns in the gallery, do they?
No, that's right. No, I mean, you couldn't get close to the U.S. Capitol with a gun, right? Yeah. I mean, people have in the past, and they took appropriate steps. But now that's secured. This is an armed camp right now.
If guns are so great and so wonderful.
I think you're right, Dave. They live in that little bubble, right?
Oh, it's pristine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sad to think about that. And I don't want anything happen to them or their families. But they got to realize that the rest of Americans don't have that kind of security.
That's right.
Don't have that kind of safety. And that's part of the problem. I thought the sane there were some sane voices heard, rare, but I thought the sanest of all was the father of this guy. His name is Ian Mercer. He lives in California. He and his wife are separated, and the kid lives in Oregon with his mother. But he didn't even know he had a gun at all. And, he's just like, what does anybody need a gun for?
How on earth could he compile 13 guns? How can that happen? They talk about gun laws. They talk about gun control. Every time something like this happens, they talk about it and nothing is done. I'm not trying to say that that's the blame for what happened, but if Chris had not been able to get a hold of 13 guns, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Who needs 13 guns?
Right.
What one person needs 13 guns?
Yeah. And I think by the way, in the end, they found one more.
Yeah,
right.
Right,
so
right,
it ended
right.
up, they thought it was, at first they said 13, it ended up being actually 14. 8 handguns, 5 rifles, and 1 shotgun bought legally in the last 3 years. Now, don't you think, first of all, where there are background checks, and they're not, I'm just reading Paul Theroux's new book on the Deep South. He goes to Peter, sorry about this, he goes to a gun show in Charleston, South Carolina. And so here's a guy, right? He just walks in and he said, so could I buy that? And the guy said, oh, yeah. And he says, well, I'm not sure, I have all the right idea. And the guy said, private sale. Private sale.
Good grief.
Gun show. Private sale. Meaning no background check.
Man.
Right? So number one, where there are background checks, don't you think there'd be something in the background check that would say, when you came up to buy your 10th gun, let's say, or maybe even a second gun, right? But 14 and there's no alarm bell? Like, maybe this guy's a nutcase, right? Or violently prone?
Yeah.
Right? Violence prone? No. David, out in Sacramento, California, where I spent 9 good years. Hi, David.
Good morning. It's too early this morning.
I know, yeah. Thanks for getting up for us. What do you think?
Hey, here's want to make a couple points. I'm just sick and tired of it. The point is what I need to say. It's not a mentality issue. And I like what Tom Hartman said. People just don't go around that are mental shooting people. The fact of the matter is people need to hold these politicians accountable.
Yes.
And if you don't want to do nothing between now and 2016 election, you don't get elected. And I don't want to hear anything about that. You will never get elected, period, end.
Amen.
The fact of the matter...
Amen. Yeah, go ahead.
The fact of the matter is, what I want to make my point is this. What I want to say is this. Like if these people that are out there that need more guns like this, can you do me a favor? Those people if you want to take people down, why don't you just do it to yourself and stop bringing people down with you? That's so cowardly.
No,
it's so
that's
cowardly.
Right. Do it if they want to do it, but do it to themselves first, right? Before they take 10 people down first and then do it. But David, you made an excellent point. I was going to get to this too. First of all, I'm sick of people just totally disagree, if not condemn, people like Jeb Bush and Donald Trump who say, hey, there ain't nothing we can do about, stuff happens. So, just live with it and move on. No. Never. About anything, I would never take that attitude. I'm also sick of people like Donald Trump also and Chris Christie and others who come out and say, well, the answer is not to do anything about guns. We just have to spend more money on mental health. That's BS as well. I mean, the guns are the problem. The easy accessibility to any gun whatsoever is the problem. And of course, people who have serious mental health problems should not be buying those guns. But there are people who are, I'm convinced of this, there are people who are not, who would never be qualified or classified as mentally ill who should not be buying guns. And you know what happens? They get the guns, they get the ammo, and then they are mental cases, and they go and use them. I think the guns turn them mentally ill. This guy, you can't tell me that just having those 14 guns didn't give him a sense of power.
Oh, sure.
And using them to make his mark. No. So, there's so many excuses for not facing up to the reality. The reality is limiting the kind of guns that people can buy, limiting the number of guns that people can buy, and making it harder for them to buy them. And until we recognize that as a nation, and until as we as a people make that our number one issue, and force people in elected office to agree to that, or else they don't get elected, or agree to it, or else they're not still in office, we're never going to have any change. There's never going to be any change. We got to take it seriously, and we have to talk about it, and we just can't look the other way, and we can't take that defeatist attitude that there ain't nothing we can do. I do want to say this too. Hillary Clinton yesterday came out. Yesterday morning, she was it was the second part of her interview with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Very forceful on this issue.
I want us to have not just universal background checks, but I want us to really have the country rise up against the special interest lobby of the NRA that believes anybody should have a gun, regardless of their past history, regardless of whether they're a domestic violence abuser.
Good for her. Yeah. Good for her, taking on the NRA. This is one issue where Hillary, from a progressive point of view, may be out in front, actually, of Bernie Sanders. All right. We'll put that aside for just a second. Talk to Scott Bland from the National Journal coming up next about what's new on the political front. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers, and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend.
my human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
All right, 13 minutes before the top of the hour now. Monday, October 5, a big night Saturday night here in Washington, D.C. The Human Rights Campaign Fund, one of the largest and most effective gay rights organizations, had their annual dinner. That morning, Hillary Clinton spoke to the group. The evening, the keynote speaker was the Vice President of the United States. He did not make the big announcement Saturday night, but he did have a little fun talking about those who are running on the other side.
The American people are already with you. Look at the numbers. There's homophobes still left. Most of them are running for president, I think.
That's terrific.
A little poke there, and of course
terrific.
Kept the speculation alive with Hillary in the morning and Joe Biden coming in the evening. Is this going to be the contest in the Democratic primary? Scott Bland watches all of this as editor-in-chief of the National Journal Hotline. The little maybe beauty contest between the two of them, Scott, huh?
Absolutely, and I think also that this weekend we were seeing new polls coming out from NBC in Iowa and New Hampshire that kind of again just underlined what the vice president entering the race would do, particularly in Iowa, where you really ended up in a situation where if he was included in the poll, he and Clinton and Sanders were kind of bunched up between about a fifth and a third of the Democratic vote.
So would he automatically leap up to first place in the polls?
Oh no, he wouldn't. But he appears to be building up something of a starting point. Now the question again, if you're him or if you're kind of someone watching and waiting for him to make his announcement is the kind of latent support that is jumping up for him in some of these polls, is that a ceiling or is it a floor? Is that something that he would build off of if he were to announce a run for president, or is Joe Biden as popular as he will ever be right beforehand, and is the act of actually running something that would only, much like what happened with Hillary Clinton, who was polling very well when she was out of politics, and then kind of once she got back to the arena, became a little bit more of a polarizing figure again.
All right, so a week from tomorrow is the first Democratic debate in Las Vegas. Does Joe Biden have to be on that stage? If he's not on the stage, could he still come in at a later date?
I mean, he certainly technically could still come in, and there are all sorts of filing deadlines and stuff like that represent really much harder barriers to entry. On top of that, I'm of the mind that there's more like the debates are really important opportunities in terms of generating media coverage, but there is more or less infinite media coverage to be had right now by these presidential candidates, and Biden would reap that whenever he decides to make his decision. But that said, like missing one of these debates, you can just see on the Republican side the effect that these can have with Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina and Marco Rubio really making the most of some of the recent ones. So it would be a big decision to not do it and still decide to get in.
Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders in Boston they were the first, Hillary and Joe were talking to the HRC. Bernie, with his rally up in Boston, turning out 20,000 people again, huge crowd, and he continues to grow, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, and I think again, this is his backyard to some extent, but I think the New Hampshire poll that we just saw on Meet the Press on Sunday kind of underlines that he continues to maintain a lead there over Clinton. And in regards to the Massachusetts event, that's it's not Iowa and New Hampshire early, but Massachusetts is a pretty early state with a lot of delegates on the Democratic side. Pardon me, and he's clearly building up something of a following there.
With what about the new funny, looser Hillary that we're seeing Saturday Night Live, right? Obviously, this is a part of the campaign strategy to show a more personal side of her. Is it working?
It is part of the campaign strategy, and it's unfortunate for her that that's so transparent because she is pretty good at that. She can be a lot looser than people give her credit for, and I think she's shown her ability to do that for a long time, so it shouldn't be too surprising. It's a little too early to tell if exactly what effect this is having on the campaign, but I think soon we really should be able to gauge the benefits, not just of that, but of all the additional national media interviews that she's been doing, and kind of the more streamlined public appearances.
And on the Republican side, let's not forget them. We have had no dropouts this week or last week, did we? No?
I don't believe we did, no.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Everybody survived another week. I just wait. Maybe before the next debate, we'll see, or maybe certainly after the next debate, we probably will. But for the time, for time being, the cast of characters remains the same, and we'll find out how that changes and take a preview of the Democratic debate when we talk to you again next Monday. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, always good to talk to you. Scott Bland's the editor-in-chief of the National Journal. nationaljournal.com.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now? Yeah, go ahead.
This is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Fiend's yelling at me.
Help me. Shoot your hands. Help me. Shoot your hands. Back away.
Gentlemen, we have a tentacle. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face. On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy?
Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of
I see.
activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
Okay. And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends.
Or
I mean, a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else.
Yeah.
That we might be faced with, and that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Steve Shepard from Politico joins us at the top of the next hour, and then we'll talk to Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Peter.
All right, so playoff baseball is right around the corner. We're going to see the L.A. Dodgers taking on the New York Mets in the first round. And as usual, politicians are getting in on a little bit of friendly wagering. This time, two Democrats, Adam Schiff from California and Steve Israel from New York, they're having a friendly bet. Here's what's on the line. Schiff is a major Dodgers fan. He's wagering gourmet popcorn from Pauline's Premier Suites in Burbank. And Steve Israel, a big Mets fan, is offering up fresh New York bagels. That's what they have on the line.
Yeah, all right.
The loser will also wear a tie featuring the winning team's logo while delivering a congratulatory speech, quote, extolling their virtues on the house floor.
Oh, man, that's going to hurt.
Big business,
to do that.
Man. Yeah, they got to.
Oh, boy. All right,
this
go Dodgers.
Is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Pistons fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. You use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or whatever. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship.
Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Supreme Court comes back to town today with affirmative action and public employee unions right at the top of their agenda. Hello, everybody. Great to see you on this Monday, October 5. The Bill Press Show here with you all across this great land of ours. Every little small town and rural area and big cities, we're there with you on your local progressive talk radio station We're there with you on Free Speech TV and on your electronic device worldwide on our video stream, Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker, TAWKR TV. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a good weekend. Ready to dive into the news of the day. And shout out to Evan McMorris Santoro for being here as a friend of Bill on Friday. We're all back and welcome a good friend of the program, Steve Shepard from Politico here, campaign and elections editor for Politico. Very busy man these days. Hello, Steve. Good to see you.
Morning, Bill.
I mean, it's popping up all over the place, right? You never know. These candidates don't stand still.
No, and particularly with 20 candidates still left in the field and one looming over, potential candidate.
Yeah.
There's more than enough to do these days.
Is that how many we've got? We're down to
I think we're 15 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and one potential Democrat.
Well, you mean Lawrence?
Well, he's a Democrat, but he's a potential candidate.
You were talking about Lawrence Lessig?
No. Actually, that does exclude Lawrence Lessig, so I would apologize to Professor Lessig. I guess it's then 21 and
I
1.
think you can exclude him. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson leading up Team Press here today.
Hey, there. Here we are.
As always, with Ray Rogers ready to take your calls. 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding has fled the coop again, but Monty Chancellor is here. Doing a great job, as always, as our videographer. We can't even call him the B team now. He's here so much.
I know, right?
Yeah, certainly. The B plus or A minus team, maybe. Because Cyprian's still. A. So we know now, because her campaign told us, that we're going to see a looser, funnier, more laid-back Hillary Clinton these days. And boom, she pops up as a bartender on Saturday Night Live.
Val the bartender.
Val the bartender. So the woman who normally plays Hillary is at the bar. She wants a drink. She turns around to get her drink. And there the bartender is actually Hillary playing Val. And they get into a conversation about, well, what else? Keystone Pipeline.
Well, I'm just an ordinary citizen who believes the Keystone Pipeline will destroy our environment. I agree with you there. It did take me a long time to decide that, but I am against it.
So playing Hillary. Yeah, it took me a long time to decide that. Yeah, in fact, she didn't decide it when she was Secretary of State. But she has come out, Steve, on... So Keystone Pipeline is one issue. A no-fly zone in Syria is another issue. We ought to take on the NRA and have serious background checks and do something about guns, which she announced yesterday and she's going to do more of today, apparently. So she's starting to show some distance from not just the other candidates, but from President Obama.
That's right. And I think
that's a designed, deliberate strategy, I guess, right?
Yes. Well, if you look at the polls, first of all, for the Democratic nomination, you find the voters who are most unwilling to support her at this point. Their reason for doing so is that she is not liberal enough. That's why they're getting behind someone like Bernie Sanders. This is a smart way to try to coalesce, especially on an issue like Keystone, get out in front of the administration, even if it's only by a matter of weeks or a month or so, depending on when the final State Department conclusion finally comes down here. I also think, though, in Syria, you see a situation in which Americans are unhappy with the administration's handling of Syria and in the Middle East, though they're not quite sure what they would do differently. The idea that she would suggest something that is different, I think, even though it's a minor part of what could be an overall strategy, is, I think, helpful for her.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that the president's response was, well, she is running for president, which is an echo of what he said about Elizabeth Warren on TPP. Well, she's a politician like everybody else, So he's showing he's a little more thin-skinned than I thought he was when it comes to fellow Democrats disagreeing with him.
And a little unchanged by being now a lame duck president.
Post
midterm, really in the final stretches of his presidency, final year and a half or so. I think you saw that Friday afternoon at the press conference.
Getting a little the feisty side of him we're seeing. So, Steve Shepard here with us for his first half hour. We'll be joined by Moms Demand Action on Guns coming up at the half hour. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. All right, so it's a whole new era of dating out there. A lot of people are dating digitally with apps and things like that. There's Match.com, there's OkCupid, there's Tinder. So when it comes down to what people...
Ashley Madison.
There's Ashley Madison. When it comes to what people want out of people that they're talking to, right, on these apps, what's the one thing that they're looking for? Any guesses? And by a large margin, what's the biggest thing they're looking for?
I don't want to say it.
Yeah. Sex.
Well, I should say, what quality do you want? Like the person that you're talking to. What do you want to? What do you want them to have? It all comes down to good grammar. Good grammar.
Really?
Someone who uses bad grammar on these dating websites. More women than men, I should say that is an absolute deal killer. 96% of women say that is what women that's what they value most. 91% of men say that's more than personal hygiene. That is more than sexual history. That's more than looks. Even they say that. The improper use of the word there is a big problem, right? Like, I'll meet you there, THEIR is something that you see a lot of. Also using phrases like YOLO or what's up instead of how are you is a major turnoff. So I'm just trying to help, if you're listening and you're in this world of dating.
How about between you and I?
Right.
If anybody said that to me, boom. Yeah.
That's it, huh?
Yeah,
That's
I blocked him on the site.
South Carolina, man, they got some rain. They call it 1,000-year level of rain, according to Nikki Haley, the governor down there. It is an absolute disaster. Going around the state, Mount Pleasant saw 24 inches of rain. That's just outside of Charleston. 20 inches in downtown Charleston and 18 inches in an area of Columbia. It got so bad over the weekend that they shut down all of downtown Charleston. They closed the bridges. You couldn't get in. You couldn't get out.
Whoa.
Because the rain was so bad. And the worst part of this is there's more rain coming. Torrential rain coming today for a lot of South Carolina. It's a very dangerous situation down there. Stay off the road. Stay at home if you can.
Yeah, the weather I've seen, the video I've seen, it's
terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
It's about the amount of rain we get here in about half a year.
Yeah,
and
right.
They got it in a matter of 3 days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And Alaska Airlines, I don't fly Alaska Airlines very often, but their CEO...
they're a good airline.
Yeah, I've had not great experiences. Well, here, this may change your mind. Their CEO, Brad Tilden, he flew on Alaska Airlines because he's the CEO. And he was speaking to an airline conference last week, and according to the LA Times, he said, quote, "The media's here, and I'm hoping that you don't write this down and print it, but I flew Alaska Airlines here, and they lost my luggage." His own airline lost the luggage. The CEO, Brad Tilden, according to their own policy, he's now due a $25 flight credit or 2,500 frequent flyer miles since they lost his baggage.
Well, now he's got to do something about it. So it could be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe.
You'd think that they would pay a special attention to the CEO.
There's got to be a special tag when you check in. Like, whatever you do, don't lose this bag. I get the priority tag. There's got to be like a super priority.
Yeah, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, not done in the last
year. You got it. All right, so guys, there's so much going on, Steve. Where do we start? I want to start. Saturday, very interesting. The Human Rights Campaign Fund with its annual dinner here. One of the most powerful and most effective gay rights organizations in the country. And they had Hillary Clinton as their breakfast speaker and Joe Biden as their keynote speaker for the big dinner Saturday evening. Both of them apparently, from what I've heard, gave great speeches. Was this set up as sort of a test run duel, maybe a preview of the big debate a week from tomorrow night, or what?
Well, it doesn't look like Joe Biden's going to be there a week from tomorrow night. CNN would love him to come. They're basically begging him to join the debate by saying he can decide about 5 minutes before the debate, and then they'll do whatever they can do to accommodate him. I don't think he'll be there, but ultimately, this is going to be one of those issues. There are contrasts between Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. even though they were both running in the establishment lane, if Joe Biden does run in the establishment lane of the Democratic Party against Bernie Sanders, who's running from the left, and Martin O'Malley, who's also running from the left. There are contrasts even while they were members of the Obama administration. Obviously, Hillary Clinton wasn't able to take political stands as Secretary of State, but it's not lost on a lot of gay activists that Joe Biden kind of dragged the entire administration into supporting same-sex marriage in that Sunday show, the Meet the Press interview back in 2012. It's not lost on a lot of gay activists that Hillary Clinton did not support same-sex marriage until later. Obviously, I think the State Department extended certain benefits after the administration's policy changed, and that once she wasn't Secretary of State, she came out as a very strong supporter. You heard that on Saturday Night Live, where we talked about not necessarily getting behind gay marriage all that quickly. There are other contrasts outside of that, but look, I think Joe Biden does, for someone who, admitted in an interview with a Catholic publication last month that he is sort of personally pro-life. If he doesn't think that should be his personal feeling, should be the law, but he's against abortion personally. This is one social issue where he can stake out a position and garner really the support of this group potentially against Hillary Clinton.
So can he skip the first debate and still get in and be a viable candidate?
For me, it doesn't have anything really to do with the debate. The debate is kind of secondary. If anything, I think it makes sense strategically to skip the first debate, see where Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are after that. If she does poorly, then that creates a larger opening. The bigger problem for him is organizationally, and I really think that it's very difficult even to get in.
Building a campaign.
Right. The difference between getting in now and getting in at the end of next week is is basically nil. So I think it behooves him to wait if he's still thinking about doing this. But building a campaign in October, when the Iowa caucuses are on February 1st and the New Hampshire primaries on February 9th, that's awfully difficult, particularly when most of the folks who are the establishment Democrats are behind Clinton. Most of the folks who want to see more progressive Democratic nominee are behind Sanders or O'Malley. Where does his organization come from? Where do his supporters come from? I think that's very difficult. And, waiting another week to see how the debate plays out would be a smart move. Waiting this long in the first place, I understand there are personal considerations, but it does make it more difficult.
You mentioned the other Democrat, the other main Democrat in the race and leading in some states. Bernie Sanders, last week we learned, raised almost as much money as Hillary Clinton from more supporters than anybody's ever had, more donors than anybody's ever had in Democratic politics, way ahead of where Barack Obama even was when he was running in 2007 and 2008. And Bernie in Boston over the weekend, I know Massachusetts is a Democratic state, but still 20,000 people turning out for Bernie Sanders just for a political rally. So I keep hearing people saying Bernie has hit a ceiling, right? That Bernie is level up. I don't see that. Do you?
I think the debate next week is a huge opportunity for Bernie Sanders. I think he has leveled off to some degree in the polls. You look, he is slightly ahead in New Hampshire. He's slightly behind in Iowa. He is 15 to 20 points behind Clinton nationally. That's pretty consistent, and it's been there basically for the past month or two. I think this is his first chance on a bigger stage before a broader audience. We're not just talking like committed progressive activists, the types of folks who go to a rally on a weekend in October, the types of folks who donate even $10 or $20 through ActBlue or online. Getting in front of a more mainstream audience, while they Democratic primary voters are a pretty unique breed of folks, as are Republican primary voters, I think getting that mainstream acceptance is going to be important for his chances.
Yeah.
So if he can acquit himself well in the debate, and he and Clinton really haven't taken the gloves off yet. It's not clear that they will. But if he comes off as a credible alternative in the debate, I think that's going to go a long way and potentially give him a boost among Democrats who haven't really plugged in yet to the campaign and haven't really given him much of an opportunity.
And the New York Times this morning on the other side of the aisle, talking about the conundrum, I love that word, that Jeb Bush faces, that he obviously is not doing so well. So is this time to roll out the big gun, George W? We'll take a look at the Republican side of the aisle with Steve Shepard here from Politico, Politico.com. When we come back, you want to jump in? You know how to do so, 866-55-PRESS.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Like the taste.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use, which is a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
the most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
What are we going to do after yet another school shooting? We'll talk about that with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense. Jennifer Hoppe joining us at the half hour. So, Steve Shepard, is it still on the Republican side, still the case of the three outsiders leading the pack?
It certainly looks that way. We saw the poll yesterday. Polls in both Iowa and New Hampshire from NBC, Wall Street Journal, and Marist College. Donald Trump still ahead. It's Ben Carson in Iowa. It's Carly Fiorina in second in New Hampshire. So you do still see these three outsiders. Who is the one establishment candidate to break through? It looks so far like Marco Rubio, but a couple of things that I took away from those polls that were interesting. In New Hampshire, the sort of insurgent insider was not necessarily John Kasich, who was in second place last month when they polled that state, but Chris Christie was up to 7% in New Hampshire.
Whoa.
He's spending a lot of time there, though he has also been focusing on Iowa in the past week, but New Hampshire's been where his campaign had been focused before that. And in Iowa, Bobby Jindal's up to 6%. Whoa. So if you're looking for the Rick Santorum, who's going to come out of nowhere in the last couple of weeks before these different states, we're still in October, but those are I think there are candidates focusing on individual states in the early on in the process. That doesn't mean they're going to win the nomination, but look for some surprises maybe out of those two.
They are not the two that I would have thought. I thought Chris Christie was done, and Bobby Jindal I never thought got off the
Bobby Jindal has no job as of the middle of January, so he might as well stick around.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
the canyon maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TalkerTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour now. What do you say? It is The Bill Press Show. Good to see you, and thank you for joining us here on a Monday, October 5. We are here in our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill. It's just a cold, miserable, rainy weekend. Hope might have been a little better where you are. At any rate, we're back to cover the news of the day, and brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, the one and only Leo Gerard. The United Steelworkers, North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. We salute them and thank them for their support of the program. Very sad occasion yet again, where one community in America particularly hard hit, and every community in America thinking, boy, it could happen here. Another mass shooting, this at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon on Thursday. 10 people killed. What's the reaction? Will there be any action? Any moves toward gun safety, as there haven't been in the wake of the previous mass shootings? We'll explore that with Jennifer Hoppe, I guess, right? Hoppe, I'm sorry. Deputy Director of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Jennifer, it's good to see you back here, although I'm sorry that something like this has to bring us together. What is when you hear politicians like Jeb Bush and Donald Trump say, here's Jeb Bush's response. I'm sure you've heard this before.
Look, stuff happens. There's always a crisis, and the impulse is always to do something, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do.
Stuff happens, right? That's the best we can do.
It's absolutely not the best we can do, and the fact that Congress has sat on its hands for years and years, when there are simple ways to prevent many instances of gun violence, such as passing universal background checks. It's unconscionable to me that our public officials do not take this problem seriously. It doesn't seem to me that they are taking it seriously.
Your organization has been on this. How long have you been around now?
We were founded the day after the massacre at Sandy Hook.
That's right. Yeah.
Just a little under 3 years.
And you would think, I saw a number that this is the 45th school shooting in the United States this year. I mean, that's got to have moms across the country, whether their kids are in, kindergarten or preschool or K through 12 or junior high, junior college or college, just horrified, petrified.
Absolutely. And, I'm a mother, and I don't exaggerate when I say when I drop off my daughter at elementary school every day, I think about the ramifications of the fact that we see school shootings on a weekly basis. And, moms like me around the country are paying attention, and we are demanding that Congress take action, that the states take action. We've been very successful on the state level at beating back gun lobby priority bills. We defeated over 60 bills this legislative session. And also, holding Congress's feet to the fire and saying, if you will not change the gun laws to protect our children, we will get a new Congress.
Well, I would hope that would be the case. It looks like you were ready to jump in there. I just wanted to be sure. But and yet, from what I was able to see, in the wake of Roseburg, the president gave a very powerful statement, as he always does. But I didn't hear one Democratic or Republican member of Congress stand up and say, we need new gun safety legislation. We have to do something about background checks. We have to do something about handguns or assault rifles. Tell me if I'm wrong, but and what does that say to you when they just look the other way?
It says to me that we need to be louder. We need to keep going. We need to not let them off the hook. We're not going away, right? We have a powerful motivator, and that's our children. The gun laws we have in the country didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen over the course of 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. We're a generation behind and the NRA, and we're fighting back. And like I said, we're changing laws at the state level, and we will get there.
It looks like that there's more potential for strong action at either the local, city, or state level than there is with this Congress particularly. So I want to ask you about the background check, because we talked about this a little bit earlier. So this guy in Roseburg, Oregon, was able to get, he just didn't have a gun. He had 14 guns. He had an arsenal, not to mention a mountain of ammunition that he had with him. And what I read, so that was 8 handguns and 5 rifles and 1 shotgun, all of which were legally bought within the last 3 years. Shouldn't there be something in the background check that would say, like maybe if you get up to you're buying your 3rd gun in a couple of years, it's something, there'd be a red flag. Maybe we ought to look at this guy, but I mean, he buys 14?
Right. Well, the fact of the matter is he could easily have bought those guns in many states, not Oregon at this point, without a background check at all. So, there's no
background check at all. Right?
Yes. In Oregon, just actually passed background checks on all gun sales, but it's one of only 18 states where that's the case. So, in Virginia, for example, it would be super easy for me to go out, find a private seller at a gun show online and purchase a gun without any background check whatsoever.
But aren't there federal background checks that apply in all 50 states? How do the states get around it?
Federally licensed firearms dealer has to run a background check if you purchase a gun. But if I go on a site like armslist.com, I can find a private seller who's perfectly willing to meet me in the parking lot of a McDonald's, and I give him $500 and he gives me a gun. So the laws are so porous.
You get a Big Mac while you're at it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the laws are so porous and lax that the primary thing that we can do right now is to expand those background checks on all gun sales.
These private gun sales happen so they're not just at gun shows, though.
Correct. Yes, it's called the gun show loophole a lot in common parlance, but it's really not just gun shows. It's sales that originate online and are completed by a private seller. Again, like if I go and buy a gun from a merchant online, they'll ship it to a federally licensed firearms dealer, so I have to get a background check. But if I initiate a private sale online, find a private seller, it can in most states, the transaction can happen with absolutely no background check.
If you were asked by a member of Congress, all right, I want to take this on, I want to make this a cause, that person said, what should I do? Like Hillary Clinton, who had a very bold statement yesterday on Reverend Al Sharpton's show on MSNBC about background checks, and is going to even make more, I think, proposals today. if she came to you, or Martin O'Malley or Bernie Sanders came to you, what should our position be? What do Moms Demand Action say?
We demand.
What are your priorities?
Our priorities, well, first of all, like I said, universal background checks on all gun sales and keeping guns out of the hands of dangerous people. So tightening laws so that domestic abusers can't get their hands on guns, so that felons can't get their hands on guns, so that the people who should not have guns on their person in their homes should not have easy access to guns.
But Chris Mercer would not fall into either one of those categories, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the system we have right now is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But again, the easiest thing to do right now is to tighten up the background check system and expand that to all gun sales.
How about a ban on assault rifles?
We don't take a position on an assault rifle ban right now, simply because carnage can happen with any type of weapon, any type of gun, and that is. Again, our priority is making sure we keep all guns out of the hands of dangerous people.
Right. How are you doing in terms of it? I would think that there's no more powerful lobby, right, than mothers of kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
I could not believe that Congress turned aside the parents from Sandy Hook Elementary School when they came down here and walked the halls of Congress. So maybe that proved me wrong. But I'm just wondering, I mean, what kind of reaction you're getting across the country. It seems to me after every school shooting, there should be more and more parents who
there
want
are
to join
more and
you.
more parents. I mean, I cannot tell you the influx we've had of members, not just this past week, but over the summer. The summer's been an absolutely horrific summer of gun violence, from Charleston to Chattanooga to Lafayette. And that doesn't even include the daily gun violence that kills 88 people a day and injures hundreds more. It's a crisis in this country, and you can't turn away. You can't turn away. It could happen to you. It could happen to me. It could happen to anyone today or tomorrow. And we need to, we have at Moms Demand Action in every town for gun safety, a network of survivors of gun violence. And they are incredible advocates. And they speak from the voice of experience. And so many of them say, don't wait for this to happen to you to get involved. And sadly, it's a network that is growing by the day. My hats are off to those who have suffered, like the parents in Newtown, and like so many others who use their voices to advocate for stronger gun laws.
Right. Moms Demand Action. MomsDemandAction.org is the organization where you reach out and can help out with Jennifer Hoppe here. She's Deputy Director of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Your questions, your comments, you want to join us, take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
We're talking guns, gun safety, and the need for Congress to get some courage and take on the NRA. Jennifer Hoppe here from Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, momsdemandaction.org. And today, Jennifer, you were saying that the White House, you guys are getting together with a town hall meeting on Twitter.
Yes, we're doing a Twitter town hall at 1 p.m. Eastern. And to join, just follow the hashtag Stop Gun Violence.
Stop Gun Violence. Hashtag Stop Gun Violence. And I'll take you to this Twitter town hall, White House and Moms Demand Action today at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'm sure you hear this. You know, you people just want to take everybody's guns away. That's what your agenda is.
It's amazing to keep hearing that, because I've never heard a single person on this side of the issue advocate for taking all of the guns away. My husband owns guns. We have no problem with responsible gun ownership. And in fact, the vast majority of responsible gun owners support measures like background checks on all gun sales, support keeping guns out of the hands of dangerous people, and also out of the hands of children, which is another access issue. So, we're on the same side with the majority of the country.
In fact, aren't there a good number of members of the NRA who polls have shown who support universal background checks or restrictions on the kind of guns you can buy, or the gun locks, trigger locks, or something. Those measures.
Roughly 3/4 of the NRA's membership supports expanding background checks to all gun sales.
3/4? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why are politicians afraid to take on the NRA?
I wish I knew. I mean, the NRA has been a powerful lobby, but they'll soon learn to fear moms.
Well, I can't think of any more powerful political force in America if you can get the moms organized and get them to really put the pressure on, right?
And like I said, we're a young organization, just under 3 years old, but we have a chapter in every state. We have hundreds of thousands of members. Together with Everytown for Gun Safety, we have over 3 million supporters. So change is happening. It's just, it's not happening overnight. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and we're comfortable with that. Yeah. We will go toe-to-toe with the gun lobby as long as we need to.
Well, good for you. That's the second time you've mentioned Everytown for, what was that?
Everytown for Gun Safety.
Two organizations in one, sort of?
We're all one organization, Everytown for Gun Safety, and Moms Demand Action is a branch of that.
Oh, I see. And Everytown for Gun Safety. So the program there is to go city by city by city. Is that it?
State by state, city by city, as much as we can do, as quickly as we can do it, we're on it.
Who is your, in terms of Congress, who's out in front now? Who do you consider your heroes in terms of pushing for strong gun safety legislation?
Well, there are many heroes. I'll start, just because I live in Virginia, I'll start with Tim Kaine and Mark Warner have been very good on this issue. They, especially recently, they turned out to an event we had on Capitol Hill about a month ago in response to the shooting in Roanoke, in which a reporter was and her cameramen were shot.
I know, this is such a horrible
It was
scene.
horrible.
Yeah,
So the Virginia senators have been wonderful. The Connecticut senators obviously have been very out there. Senators Murphy and Blumenthal, as well as Congresswoman Etsy. So and there are many that are not coming to mind right this second, but we do have champions in Congress, and of course Senator Manchin and Senator Toomey,
who got together on that bill.
Exactly, and
Senator Feinstein, the original author of the assault weapons ban. And, so I just want to repeat a couple of statistics I did earlier in the program. As of last Thursday, which is the day of the Roseburg shooting, there were we'd gone 274 days in 2015 with 294 mass shootings in this country. 294 mass shootings. 4 or more people killed or injured from gun in 274 days. As I mentioned, this is the 45th school shooting in 2015. And a couple of people have pointed out, and it's been checked, and it is fact, that more people, since 1968, more people have died from gun-related deaths in the United States than died in all the wars that we've ever been in, from the Revolutionary War to today. I mean, that is just stunning. And boy, if that doesn't make the case for the work that you're doing, I don't know what does. So I think you're starting at the right place. We've got to wake the American people up, and nobody better able to do that and get some action than moms of these kids in schools.
Exactly.
Right. Thanks, Jennifer, for what you're doing. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Remind you again, go to their website, momsdemandaction.org, and hashtag
Stop Gun Violence.
Stop Gun Violence at 1 o'clock Eastern today. Thanks, Jennifer. See you again.
Thank you.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 2 hours down, almost down, ready to move into hour number 3 with a couple of great guests coming up. Josh Lederman sits in the front row at the White House briefings. He's the first one called on. He'll be here in studio, talk about the latest from the White House. He works, of course, for Associated Press. And then we will have Kristina Wong from The Hill to come in and talk about the latest on what happened in what's going on in Afghanistan and in Syria, with Russia doing airstrikes in Syria against different targets than the United States. What a mess over there. We'll cover it all in hour number 3, so stay tuned.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like a bag?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
And the Ad Council.
This is the Bill Press Show.
How about it? Josh Lederman from the White House. AP covers the White House for AP here in studio with us in the next half hour. And then Kristina Wong joins us from The Hill to talk about the current mess in Syria. with Russia and Iran running around there. President Obama, a fairly light schedule at the White House today. He's got to recover from that golf game in the rain yesterday. So it's probably in a bad mood. But he gets the daily briefing this morning at 10:30, and that's it. Nothing else on his schedule. We have our briefing today, however, with Press Secretary Josh Earnest at 12:30. I don't know what Otis is up to.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond. And this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River. And we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention. But the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together. And it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
There are many...
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Supreme Court back in town today. Top of their agenda, affirmative action and public employee unions. Oh boy. Hey, hello everybody. Monday, October 5. So good to see you today. Thank you for hopping on board the Bill Press bus as we head out to you from our nation's capital to wherever you are in this great land of ours. We're there with you on the radio. We're there with you on television, on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, on television, on Free Speech TV. Hope you had a good weekend. Thanks to Evan McMorris Santoro for being here as a friend of Bill on Friday. Now we're back, loaded for bear, and lots to talk about today. We can't cover it all without the help of good friends, so we dragged one in here early this morning. He covers the White House for AP. In fact, as I always say, he sits in the front row in the middle seat. He channels Helen Thomas to the news conferences every day. Josh Lederman. Hello, Josh.
Hey, Bill. Great to be here.
Doing? That's how I think of you, you know.
Like Helen Thomas? I might need to get a new wardrobe if that's the case. I don't know.
That's a lot of responsibility,
That's
though.
True.
Yeah, and the first one called on every day by some unwritten law somewhere, right? Yeah, and does a great job. Good to see you, Josh. Thanks for coming back. With Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Here we are.
Good morning.
Leading our team here, which includes Ray Rogers on the phones at 866-55-PRESS, and Monty Chancellor here as our videographer. We all made a mistake in letting Cyprian Bolding go to Paris about a month ago, and he's got the travel bug now, so he's in Madrid today. Can't keep him down.
We'll see him when we see him.
How are you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris?
I'm telling you, man.
That's what it's like. So, we've seen the horrific videos of this flooding down in Charleston. I mean, it's just 1,000-year flood. Very, very serious damage down there, and families wiped out, and storms up and down the East Coast. And it's either flooding or fires or all. You hear people in a situation like that where they're told, you've got to evacuate, you've got to get out, right? What do you take, right? That question always comes up. And think about it. You got 5 minutes, maybe, or less, right? And the authorities are telling you got to get out of the house. So what do you take with you? Here's this one woman in South Carolina. This was her priority.
Did you grab anything when you walked out the door?
I grabbed nothing but 2 Tortino's pizza out of the refrigerator and my doggy, and we left. That's it. I tried to grab some other things, but they wasn't even worth it.
She got 2 pizzas out of the freezer and her doggy.
Those other things weren't worth it, though.
Sounds like a commercial, just ready-made. I mean, Tortino can just clip
Totino's
that together,
pizza.
stick it on the air, and you're good to go.
Will you have to leave and flee your house? What do you grab? Totino's pizza.
And my doggy.
And my doggy.
I don't think that would have been high on my list. I'm not. The doggy, yes.
Yes,
Right,
of course.
The Tortino's pizza.
Oh, man. Hey, you know?
Well, we were in a situation like that once in California with a forest fire, and we had a little more time. We could load the car, so we could put more stuff in. But you know, family photographs are always and the silver. It's the silver, right? Yeah, right. But we left the pizza in the fridge.
Yeah, probably best to just leave that Totino's where it is if we got to flee.
And in that case, the fire department let us stay there. Our car was in the driveway, pointed downhill.
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll. Loaded, ready to roll. And he said, okay, you guys, you're young enough. We know you can get out. You can stay. But when we tell you to go...
hightail it.
Gotta go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's no second guessing, no. You got to agree that when if and when we tell you to go, boom.
This seems to me like a task for Chris Christie. I feel like you could just send him down there anywhere that people are.
What, to eat the Totino's pizza?
Get the hell off the beach. Get the hell out of your house. Get in the car. We're going.
I know. It does.
He's very good at that.
Oh, yeah.
He is very good at that.
He's got it down.
Remember he told that guy who was surfing or something, who said, that idiot, get the hell out of the water.
Get the hell out of the water.
All right. Got a lot to cover here with Josh Lederman. Get right to it. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
What's up?
Just a couple of other stories making news. Let's talk a little college football, because over the weekend, Texas, University of Texas, they're not having a very good football season, college football-wise. In fact, they were playing over the weekend, and they were losing so badly that their freshman cornerback, Chris Boyd, he went to Twitter at halftime. So someone tweeted him, whenever y'all are ready to make a transfer, we're ready, which he retweeted at halftime as they were getting their butts kicked. Not sure what his fate is going to be. I'm sure his coach is probably not very happy about that, but that's just how bad the Texas players are. They're retweeting requests to transfer in the middle of the game.
Looking for a job in the middle of the game.
Yeah. We go to Trenton, New Jersey. You ever had pork roll? Pork roll, egg and cheese. It's like Scrapple. It's the New Jersey equivalent of Scrapple. You've had it, right, Jamie?
I have.
All right.
I don't know. You're talking Scrapple. That's
I know.
Language.
I know.
Mean, growing up in Delaware.
This is
Scrapple.
not much different than Scrapple. It's closer to bologna, I think, than Scrapple. But it's a lunch meat situation. Point is here, there's a guy named Richard Clem who was working for Case Pork Roll Company in Trenton, New Jersey, and he was fired. He was fired because he farts too much. He says he had a gastric bypass surgery in 2010, saved his life, but one of the byproducts is he got extreme gas. And so the company fired this man, Richard Clem. He's been working there for 10 years, and he said that he's suing them now for wrongful termination. He also says he's having a hard time finding another job. Quote,
yeah, I can see that.
Quote, who wants to hire a fart boy, end quote, is what Clem said to the press when they asked about his lawsuit.
So doesn't Chris Christie have this then?
Chris Christie?
Chris Christie. One for the
back in smelly White House.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah. Chris Christie will come to his defense.
I'm sure he will. And Helen Mirren, one of the...
Fellow farter.
Fellow farter. Helen Mirren, one of the greatest actresses of our day. She's also been in several memorable nude scenes in movies. She's done nudity in movies, right?
Who knew?
Well, the point of this story is,
I imagine earlier in her career.
And
Was she in that one, the calendar one? Remember?
She was a calendar girl. She was in Caligula, remember? And she's done a couple of other scenes. But she sat down for an online interview with CBS where she talked to Alan Cumming, the actor Alan Cumming, and she said she's not doing nudity anymore. She's hanging it up. She said, quote,
I think that's a good idea.
She said, quote, she's got a reputation now. She's known as a good actress. She says, quote, you don't have to do that sort of thing anymore. My pleasure pillows are purely for my husband now. End quote. So we won't be seeing Helen Mirren do any more nudity in her career.
Except for in an image now burned into our minds.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Of her husband and her pleasure pillows.
Her pleasure pillows.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. There you
go. It's impossible to make a transition from that smooth.
Good luck with that one.
No, stop. That was then. Kind of. This is now. You were there Friday. I missed it at the news conference with President Obama, where he announced Arne Duncan's resignation. But there were a lot more things to talk about. How does the president deal, first of all, with the fact that American warplanes struck a hospital in Afghanistan and killed 22 people, including in the hospital, including 12 staffers?
Right. Well, at the time of the news conference, that had not yet come out. But in the days since, over the weekend, the administration has been trying to get to the bottom of what happened in this Doctors Without Borders hospital in Kunduz that was struck.
Embarrassing for the administration. Pretty clear that it was U.S. military. I mean, accidentally, of course, but still, collateral damage.
Well, there's a lot of haze around exactly what happened, but the U.S. military certainly acknowledged that they were launching airstrikes in that area, that it's possible there was collateral damage from that struck struck this hospital. But, there's been also some reports that there were firing on that hospital from some type of helicopters, which possibly the Afghans could have been in charge of. But certainly the reports coming from Doctors Without Borders in terms of this one part of their facility being hit, the rest of it being okay, and them hearing planes circling round and round, dropping more and more bombs, all seem to point to the probability that it was likely U.S. airstrikes that were behind this.
Yeah, and the Doctors Without Borders said that even ISIS would not have attacked the hospital, right? And they sort of discount claims that it was anything other than U.S. airplanes. But you're right. Investigation is underway. Defense Department and...
Right. And the other factor here, of course, being that there have been a lot of reports that there were Taliban operating in that hospital at the time that ostensibly the U.S. coalition or the Afghans would have been responding to. Doctors Without Borders came out over the weekend saying, it doesn't matter who else was in the building. That does not somehow make it okay to start bombing a hospital that we've clearly communicated this is where we are taking care of patients and of civilians and all kinds of stuff like that. But, in the haze of all of this kind of, battle for territory between, a lot of shadowy groups, it's hard to get to the bottom of what happened. And that's currently the phase that we're in right now.
And one topic that has dominated the briefings we've had last week and certainly came up Friday is the situation in Syria, where we have Russian airplanes launching airstrikes in Syria, not against the same targets where we have our planes launching airstrikes, and now you've got Iran putting more people on the ground. And some people I know, it's been raised at the White House that looks like Putin may be running circles around President Obama in Syria.
That's certainly what it looks like from the 30,000-foot level. We've seen kind of a remarkable shift from the White House only in the matter of a few days. I mean, it was only last week, I think today, that the president was sitting down with Vladimir Putin at the UN in New York, and they were getting on the same page in terms of Russia's attempt to launch airstrikes against the Islamic State. What quickly became clear was that the bulk of that effort actually was not aimed at the Islamic State, but was aimed at these Syrian opposition groups that are fighting Assad, a lot of them with the support, if not the actual assistance, of the United States. So by Friday of last week, we had this remarkable evolution where the president was no longer saying, we welcome Russia's help fighting ISIS, but saying we're not going to have anything to do with what they're doing in Syria because it's clear they're going after the opposition, and we have different goals here.
Right. So it seems that their motive, Russia is there to protect Assad or to assist Assad, right?
Exactly.
In defeating both ISIS, but direct first the Syrian opposition.
Right. And you could tell, it's pretty easy to tell who they're going after simply based on the geography. If they're going after these ISIS-held strongholds in the north, they're clearly going after ISIS. If they're going after these areas, in other parts of Syria where there really isn't a whole lot of ISIS and it's these opposition groups and these, these rebel factions, then, you sort of say, okay, well, what's going on here?
So we have a situation that is it now the case in Syria where we have Syria, Iran, and Russia against the United States?
That's basically what it's breaking down to, which raises some pretty eerie memories of certain Cold War factions. It's basically the United States and Russia on opposite sides of Syria's civil war. The president took pains on Friday to say this is not going to turn into a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia. And basically what they're trying to do is disengage and also have we have this new buzzword in D.C. now, deconflict, the deconflicting talks, which is what the U.S. and Russia are doing to make sure that basically they're not flying aircraft into each other in the airspace over Syria. But basically you do you, we'll do us, and let's just try and not interfere with each other, with the idea that at least we're both working toward the goal of ending ISIS, even if Russia has some other stuff they're up to as well.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has come out, former Secretary of State, now presidential candidate, saying we're not doing enough in Syria. We need a no-fly zone.
That's right. And the president was asked about the calls from some of these presidential candidates for a no-fly zone on Friday, and had this answer where he said, well, there's a lot of people coming up with these half-baked ideas, and then you ask them for details, and it turns out to be mumbo-jumbo. And we all said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, did you just say that Hillary Clinton is half-baked? Are you sure that's exactly where you want to go? No, that's not what
Of course
saying.
not.
Yeah, but he did have a rather interesting critique of Hillary Clinton, which was, you say one thing when you're a presidential candidate and you're on the trail, and you say another thing when you're sitting in the Situation Room. And Clinton should know that because she's sat in the Situation Room alongside this president and may very well sit there again in her own right. But at the same time, the president trying to push back against people who don't have the actual responsibility for carrying out these decisions and are free to start floating these, major ambitious things like we're going to enforce a no-fly zone.
I was reminded of what he said about Elizabeth Warren when she criticized the TPP. Well, Elizabeth's she's a politician like everybody else, right? So, yeah.
And what exactly are you, Mr. President? I forgot.
Right. I was asked over the weekend, how does a no-fly zone work? That means, right, that we would patrol the air and not allow any Syrian aircraft to fly over that territory. Is that?
That's right, but it's actually much more ambitious than that, because before you do that, you have to go in and you have to destroy the Syrian air defenses on the ground. So that basically means launching, strikes.
So that they cannot fire on our aircraft.
Right, air to surface missiles, basically. So, that's kind of step one. And then you have to constantly patrol the airspace, basically 24/7, to make sure that no Syrian aircraft or other aircraft are allowed to go in there. So it's a major effort.
Which we had in Iraq.
Right.
And now certain voices, I think even some Republicans, Hillary Clinton's not the only one who's asked for or suggested or proposed a no-fly zone.
No, certainly not. A lot of, more hawkish Democrats, certainly a lot of the Republicans have called for this. But the other factor is that it puts us in direct military confrontation with the Assad government, which is something that the Obama administration, as of yet, has been unwilling to do.
It would be hard to say that we could do that and not be at war in Syria, right? I mean, it is a no-fly zone is an act of war.
I don't know about the legal. I don't know if legally it qualifies as that.
I don't either,
but certainly it puts us in a very aggressive military stance against a country we've tried to not actually bomb.
And we know President Obama also made a very strong statement on Thursday, a very powerful statement after the community college shooting in Roseburg, Oregon. So what happens next? Josh Lederman's there on the front line, in the front row at the briefing room, and here with us in the studio. Want to jump in? You know how to do so. 866-55-PRESS.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Right, you watch the presidential presidential briefings or news conferences. And the first person called on, sitting right here with us, Josh Lederman for AP or one of his colleagues. And here in studio, so Josh, if you look back at President Obama, some of the most powerful and beautiful speeches that he's given have been Tucson, Arizona.
My hometown.
I didn't know that. Okay. Newtown, Connecticut. Charleston, South Carolina. And at the White House Thursday after the shooting in Roseburg, each of them after a mass shooting, this one in Roseburg, Oregon. I didn't hear the president this time call for any new legislation.
He did not, and he probably will not for the remainder of his presidency, because the fact of the matter is, he knows and Congress knows is they gave it their best shot when actually the odds were slightly better than they are now after the most recent elections. The president thinks that all he can do is really try and call for action and hope that the politics eventually change, that there will be enough support for changing the laws.
I hope that Congress will finally get some backbone, although I'm not sure we can count on that. Well, my friend, I will see you at 12:30 back down at the White House. All right? Okay. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks, Bill.
Josh Lederman from AP, AP.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TalkerTV. That's TAWKR TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour here on a Monday, October 5. Told you many times, if you want to know what's happening here in Washington, the latest either on Capitol Hill or down at the White House, no better source than the newspaper The Hill. TheHill.com is where you find it, and where you can also follow the work of a defense reporter on all the foreign policy and defense-related issues by defense reporter Kristina Wong, who joins us in the studio this morning. Hello, Kristina. Good to see you.
Hello. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Before we get to the foreign policy news of the day, just a breaking news headline during the break from the New York Times that the United States and 11 other nations have reached a deal on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. President Obama, remember, thanks to the help of congressional Republicans, not Democrats who opposed it, but President Obama did win fast-track authority to negotiate a Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, or the so-called TPP. And now the deal has been agreed upon by all 11 nations.
Nice.
So Congress now gets an up or down vote. That's what the fast-track authority meant. No a possibility of amending it or anything, up or down vote. I don't know how soon that's going to happen. We'll find out maybe more later today. And we also, I need to check as the coach.
Yeah.
How are we doing on FanDuel?
All right, so
Christina, we have a fantasy football league, and we have our own league here, and we challenge all of our listeners and our viewers to try to beat us, which they've been doing pretty well.
All right, so
all right, how we doing?
This week was pretty competitive.
Don't let me down.
We should point out there's still a football game tonight.
All right, so.
But among the staff here, Cyprian, who's not here, so we can talk trash, he is currently at 22nd out of 25.
Yikes.
Very, very low. This is a cautionary tale.
Cyprian has not been doing too well.
No. Cyprian, where he picks players from his favorite football team, which happens to be right here in Washington.
Washington unnamed
and they don't have
team.
a very good team, especially for fantasy. So Cyprian's got to stop picking Washington to put on his list. So he's currently at the bottom of the staff here. Ray Rogers is currently at 20th, although Ray still has players tonight, right?
Okay.
So that leaves me and Jamie. Both of us, we don't have any more games left to play. We are right.
Yes, and you're now standing where?
I am in 7th place. Jamie is in 8th place.
So at least he may have bragging rights.
So I kicked his ass is what it comes down to.
But you're still getting money.
We're actually out of the money. Our listeners again beat us. 1 through 5 all got paid. And so Jamie and I finished just out of the money. But our listeners, yet again, kicked our butt. Top 5.
We've got the same guy in the top 5 3 times because he did 3 different teams.
Because you can enter as many times as you want.
Oh.
Right? It costs you money every time you do it. So this one guy that's a listener to the show, or viewer, he's entered 3 different teams, and all 3 of those are in the top 5.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's a monster.
What sounds like I want him on my side.
He clearly knows what he's doing. I'm going to just copy him next time.
I'm on a fantasy football league. I've no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah?
But I'm not last.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right?
This is the thing. This is the first time I've ever done fantasy, and I'm terrible at it.
The less you know, the better you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's...
Hopefully you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hang in there.
All right. Okay, team. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tonight. So we'll see what happens in Syria, too, Kristina Wong. I mean, we were just talking with Josh Lederman from AP about this. It's a pretty delicate situation where now... we haven't had that much success against ISIS despite over a year of airstrikes against them. So then Russia comes in and we think, oh, good, now we've got some help against ISIS. It turns out they're not bombing ISIS targets. They're bombing the targets of the Syrian opposition whom we are supporting. So it's back to the Cold War, United States versus Russia.
Yeah, it's a interesting situation where I think this is the first time we've had air forces in the same theater since the Cold War, or since the World War II, actually.
Yeah, and bombing different targets.
Yeah, and bombing different targets. Russia's going after moderate and extremist opposition groups that oppose the Assad regime, and we're going after ISIS. Russia said it was going to go after ISIS. I think there are reports that they have hit some ISIS targets, but primarily they're going after the groups that we support.
So what is the goal of the United States now? Is it to topple Assad? Is it to beat back ISIS?
Well,
is it clear? What is our?
It's not clear, and it is clear. Our stated goal is to defeat ISIS, and so we are narrowly targeting ISIS. However, at the same time, the administration is saying Assad needs to go, and it's been saying that for a very long time.
3 years, I think.
Exactly, right? And so it's interesting because Russia's entry into this conflict actually gives the U.S. an opportunity to find a way for Assad to go. It can work with Russia to negotiate Assad's, quote, managed transition, as the administration has said.
That assumes that that's what Russia wants, right? I mean,
that
from
does.
Everything I can see,
right.
Putin would like nothing better than for Assad to stay in power.
Exactly.
They've always been the money behind Assad.
Exactly.
And now they've recently sent in aircraft and ships to the region, right, to back them up.
And it looks absolutely like that's what Russia and Putin is trying to do, is to shore up Assad. So it's very difficult to see whether or not we'll actually get to that managed transition. And I don't even think the U.S. knows what Russia is going to do next.
There is a report from the New York Times this morning that the administration is now going to, the president has agreed to do more of a push and put more arms into the area. I mean, is it still out of the question that we would ever put ground troops into Syria?
Well, I think so. I think definitely it's still out of the question. This administration doesn't want to open any new wars, even though we are essentially very much involved in Syria and Iraq.
Right.
But I think at this point, it depends what kind of ground troops.
If
we're
they're
talking
advisors, then fine, I guess. Then we don't call them combat troops.
Exactly. So maybe, JTACs or forward air controllers, maybe advisors, maybe, but that's very, very far off. And I think the administration is pretty against it. So I don't see it happening. And it's very adamant that there is no military solution in Syria. That's its policy since the very beginning. So I don't see any major ground troops in Syria anytime soon.
Right. But if you say no military solution, then that means the alternative is diplomacy or talks, and there's nobody's talking about beginning of negotiations to end the war in Syria, are they?
Yeah. Well, I think there's been talks certainly between Kerry and Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister,
right? And
so there may be. I think there are behind the scenes talks, but it's too early to tell what's going to happen there. Our militaries are not talking yet. Back to your point about the Cold War, we have high-level defense official talks, one so far, but militaries are not talking, which portends for a possibly very dangerous situation. I was talking to... Yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so we have the situation in Syria, which is really a mess, it seems right now, and we are involved, whether we call it a war or not, in another war in Syria against ISIS and against Assad. Meanwhile, the other war, Afghanistan, that we said was all over, right?
Yeah,
now we're back in the soup in Afghanistan against the Taliban, who never went away. They just went underground until our forces left. Sort of like what happened in Iraq.
You're right.
No?
Yeah. And I think the administration is nearing a decision point of what it's going to do with the 9,800 troops that are in the country. The top commander, General John Campbell.
We're expected to be out all by the end of the year, correct?
Right. Next year.
Next year, okay.
So about several hundred troops at the Kabul embassy. basically shutting down all the remaining bases and pulling back. And I was looking at a map that the New York Times put together, and you've got a Taliban resurgence in at least 9 different areas in Afghanistan where coalition troops are still are. So that's kind of concerning. And but the attack, the accidental bombing in Kunduz, that sort of raises a different question, which is, will there be more pressure for us to get out, or is there more pressure for us to stay because of the fighting?
And how does the Afghan government react to something like this?
Well, the Afghan government has been very muted, actually. Ashraf Ghani, the Afghan president, wants the U.S. to stay. And so you don't see the outcry that you have in previous years, certainly not under President Karzai,
Right.
who used to have to quell public dissent by criticizing the U.S. You're not really seeing that this time.
All right. So the president reaching the legacy, or at least a time when a president starts worrying about, or thinking about his legacy, certainly thought that part of his legacy was going to be, we ended the war in Iraq and we ended the war in Afghanistan, and there's no fighting going on in either one of those countries. It turns out it's not that way at all. We're talking the Middle East, particularly Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, with Kristina Wong from The Hill, defense reporter. TheHill.com. If you have a question or a comment, do you see any light at the end of the tunnel that we don't? 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
You know, Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit everything.
Yeah, a
it's
little bit.
Kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking. Random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour, winding up here on this Monday edition of the Bill Press Show, Monday, October 5, with Kristina Wong from The Hill. And Kristina, we were talking about Syria and Afghanistan. The president saying, we still, our goal is to get rid of Assad, but also at the same time to degrade and destroy ISIS, which we hear over and over again. The Republican candidates for president are sort of unanimous in saying this ain't working. We got to try something different. Chris Christie on This Week yesterday, or one of the shows yesterday.
Putin is going in and teaming with the Iranians to prop up Assad. Only Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton could mess up this foreign policy that badly. And anybody who agrees with allowing the Russians into the Middle East is just painfully naive.
There he is, blaming it all on President Obama. And what would you do, Donald Trump, about the situation in Syria? For him, a rather unusual response.
Yesterday, Hillary Clinton, today, John Kasich, both say we should establish a no-fly zone in Syria. Would you do that?
I don't think so. I think what I want to do is I want to sit back, and this does not sound like me very much, but I want to sit back and I want to see what happens.
Obviously, we have no idea what to do, no idea what to say, so we'll just sit back and see what happens. Right?
In a way,
how un-Trump-like.
Oh, yes, exactly. In a way, it kind of sounds like the Obama administration's plan, too.
How so?
In the sense of, let's wait and see. And Trump supporters, it's interesting. I mean, you've got very liberal and very conservative supporters of Trump saying, yeah, that's a good idea. We don't want more war. Let's just let Russia take care of ISIS. Of course, the problem is Russia is not going after ISIS. It's going after the moderate rebels that are against Assad.
And on the other side, Hillary Clinton has said what we should do is have a no-fly zone.
Right. And another thing Trump and President Obama share in common is that neither of them want a no-fly zone. Hillary Clinton, however, has come out recently and said...
Neither does Bernie Sanders, by the way.
Or Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And so Hillary Clinton has said she supports a no-fly zone, which actually puts her in line with some of the more hawkish and conservative members of Congress on the Hill, such as Senator Tom Cotton. So it's a very bold statement.
If you put a no-fly zone over a country, like we did over Iraq, in effect, maybe, I'm not sure what the law is, but isn't that an act of war? Aren't you really at war against a country if you have basically destroyed their air defenses and are patrolling their air and preventing any of their planes from flying?
You're right. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey effectively said as much. No-fly zone is an act of war. And enforcing a no-fly zone would take a lot of resources, would take a lot of ISR. It'd be very difficult to, say, enforce a safe zone. Or, no-fly zone would be easier to enforce because then, you see another plane flying, you effectively bring it down. A safe zone, which Hillary Clinton is also calling for, would be very difficult, according to some members of the military, would be very difficult to enforce because how do you know who's violating that safe zone? One general recently, the deputy director of the Air Force's Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Department said, if you've got a no-fly zone and you've got a car driving in, how do you know there aren't women and children in the car?
Yeah.
And you've multiplied that by 1,000, and you can see the problem there. And the military, the budget is stretched thin right now, and so I don't know if a safe zone is the administration or the military's interest.
But for the time being, the president has said, no way, no how, he's not going there.
Yeah, right. The president has repeatedly said no fly zone.
All right, boy, it's
no fly zone.
Yeah, yeah, boy, it's such a mess over there, and it seems to get worse. And Russia's jumping in certainly has complicated the issue, and so we're not even talking about Ukraine anymore. By the way,
that.
Yeah, it is.
Russia's
Kristina,
goal.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly. Right. Thanks so much for coming in today, and thanks for your good work. Hello to all of our good friends at The Hill, thehill.com. And after the show, I got to home and finish my column for tomorrow's edition of The Hill.
Great. Thanks for having me on,
Part
Bill.
of the team. All right, thank you. I'll be right back with today's parting shot.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment, and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yep, sadly, last Thursday afternoon, it was a case of here we go again, another shooting on still another campus, another sick lone male, another 10 victims killed. And sadder still, after it was all over, another round of silence. As he did in Tucson and Newtown and Charleston, President Obama gave a very emotional and very powerful statement. But he proposed no new actions, and not one member of Congress, not one, proposed any legislation to end the plague of gun violence or end the easy accessibility to guns. Chris Harper, the killer at Umpqua Community College, should not have been allowed to purchase even one gun, yet he had legally purchased 8 handguns, 5 rifles, and 1 shotgun within the last 3 years. Think of it, as of last Thursday, 274 days had passed in 2015, during which time this nation had experienced 294 mass shootings. How much worse does it have to get before we do something about it? That's it for today, folks.
This
Come back tomorrow
is the Bill
with
Press
Looking
Show.
Brave.